CEO Eternal of the Walt Disney Company, Bob Iger, wants you to know that he's got a heck of a legacy, but the board not acting like that anymore. Rushing him, the mousy messiah, out the door and replace him with Josh D'Amaro likely this week. So why is he being tossed onto the streets? Well, we've got answers right now. Hello, folks. Hello, friends. Welcome back yet again. The news is breaking rapidly, and we here on the Pro Channel continuing to keep up with it at a frantic pace that the Hollyweirds cannot understand, but we give them a taste of efficiency right here every day. As we dive in, click the like button, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts, and we'll tell you why the board of Disney says, you gotta go, Bob, and you gotta go now. You know, when you drop the stock, they don't get in too much of a hurry to get you out of there, it seems. But there might be something else that has Bob Iger moving on out of Disney more quickly than we first believed. This is from Alexandra Steingrad. It's out of the New York Post. Disney expected to name Parks chief Josh D'Amaro as the next CEO, replacing longtime boss Bob Iger. Okay, well, that's not a surprise, right? But the timing is, and we'll explain why. Disney's board is expected to name theme park division chairman Josh D'Amaro to replace Bob Iger as chief executive officer later this week, sources told the Post. Let me say this again for everybody who doesn't quite get this. Dear drive-by journalists, grab your jumbo pencils and write it down. They're not telling you that they're going to vote on it and keep it secret and announce it at the shareholders meeting. Bob Iger, remember, is supposed to be working all the way through this year. No, they're telling you they're going to vote to replace Bob Iger as chief executive officer later this week and name Josh D'Amaro as the head of it. Now, the board is expected to meet Tuesday and Wednesday before announcing that D'Amaro 54 will replace longtime CEO Iger. This is rather fast. D'Amaro, who's led the theme park unit that delivers most of Disney's profits since 2020, as Chapek before him, has widely been considered a top candidate to succeed 74-year-old Iger. Now, here's what you need to know about this. Gentlemen, if they convene Wednesday and do this, they're going to, this will leak rapidly. So they have to announce it. And they're already trying to forecast this. Out of CNBC, Lillian Rizzo says Disney signals its next CEO will take over a company with strong momentum.
Wow. That's a statement right there.
Well, they have to say this. And that means to me, they need to do this now because the stock is not looking good.
Okay, well, technically, yes, there is a lot of momentum. It's just not in the direction they want that momentum to be.
Now, for people to understand what we're talking about, the Walt Disney stock is currently down 41.26%, as we're reading this, 41.26% over the past 5 years. Total and complete stark contrast to the S&P 500. And if you were looking for a company a company that was doing well, like NVIDIA, they're up 1,200% over the past 5 years. Disney is actually down 41%. If you invested in Disney 5 years ago, you are poorer for having done so. That's amazing. That's not why you do that. And so we're not talking about trying to keep up with inflation or anything like that. We're literally saying just flat out you lost money, and you lost a lot of it. You almost lost half of it. But they're declaring momentum is on the way. Guys, what do you think is behind the idea that Disney now is in a rush to get rid of Bob Iger, besides the spicy stuff that's coming out linking him in ways to a certain island? I know, I hear that beep that says don't say that. What do you think about this rush? Culture, I'll go to you first. They are really moving rapidly. It is January. Well, it's February, but it just turned February. Iger was supposed to be the man in the lead until December and then never leave until the 2030s. Wall Street seems to be saying, get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's not just Wall Street. I think it's the investors, and I think they're worried about maybe another proxy challenge as stock price drops. And you've highlighted the fact that you'd be better off, with the market as a whole than you would have been investing in Disney. And I think we famously know Mexican Iron Man's talked about that before. But as I look at what was talked about today and how quickly they're trying to exit him, I'm just not surprised. I think that we saw this coming. I feel like a lot of people saw it coming, and they can't get him out of there fast enough. In fact, I think they're going to want his influence and any recognition. I think they're going to want him to disappear incredibly quickly. I think that let's turn the page. Let's get to new leadership and try to find a different direction, which would be upwards rather than downwards.
Guys, any further thoughts on Iger trying to preserve his legacy as he's kind of kicked out the door? He tried really hard in this latest report to say he was ahead of his time buying up Fox for crazy amounts of money. And
yeah, and based on the valuation of the the current Warner Brothers Discovery deal for Netflix, looks like they got great value out of it, according to Bob anyway. And the NFL ESPN deal looks like that just made it through, just squeaked right through right before this earnings call right here. So he is tried to make it seem like he's leaving this company in the best position possible, and just preparing that handoff right there. But this company's got a lot of problems. Maybe he was able to stop the bleeding somewhat in some realms and so forth, but there's still a lot of bleeding to be had here, and I just don't know if Josh D'Amaro is being positioned to be able to fix the problems ahead. Again, the Wall Street Journal pointed out recently that James Gorman has taken it upon himself to give out a series of contracts to different people up and down the train of Burbank and Disney and so forth, in order to maintain that status quo. Again, if Josh D'Amaro doesn't have the ability to pick his own personnel, how efficient or how effective will that CEO position be?
Yeah, everybody's reporting this now that he's planning to step down before his contract expires. I don't think Iger wanted to step down before his contract expires. The excuses that are being given are ridiculous. Things like Jimmy Kimmel, that situation has irked him. I don't believe that for a second. And so you got to think that Wall Street put in Gorman and Johnston to try to, navigate Disney. And it seems like the navigation that they've decided to go with is get out of here, Bob.
Well, a lot of the revelations that came from the reporting on the Bob Chapek and Bob Iger back and forth indicated that Bob designed that executive chairman role for himself in order to have control of the company without consequences for himself. So he didn't want to be on earnings calls. He wanted Bob Chapek to be the one in the hot seat to answer questions on the earnings calls. Unfortunately, he didn't account for the idea that maybe if you've hired someone as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, they may actually have some thoughts on how the Walt Disney Company should be run. So I think that as soon as Bob can get himself off of these earnings calls, the better from his perspective. Like, he would like for everyone to forget all the things that he doesn't like to answer for, and for everyone to be focused on Josh D'Amaro or Dana Walden as soon as possible.
Well, when you look at his history with the company, he's destroyed his reputation. He has no legacy to preserve anymore. And the ride of a lifetime was, into the destructive Hades that he created for himself, his own Dante's Inferno, as he exits the building. So I feel like there's nothing left for him to preserve. I mean, everything that he's done is being met with significant resistance by, the people who have supported the company for decades. And he's lost, I think, the support of not just the fans, but of the investors as well. I think you did a great job this morning on Valiant's program, talking, about everything that's been going on, and how Iger is essentially, kind of a figurehead that everything's going to be hung on. He can't, if you look at the price going down, he can't point to anything. The most valuable this company was when Bob Chapek was in charge, not him. He's never brought it back to that level or scale. And I would be hard pressed for anyone to suggest that anybody could argue that he'd be able to bring it back up. I mean, let me ask one question, and this is the thing that I think everybody should look at. With that Fox acquisition, which was $70 billion spent poorly, right? What did that increase the value of the company? Is it a better company now overall?
No,
is it
even from a strict stock standpoint, Fox disappeared. Like that $70 billion that changed hands between cash and stock, that value is not reflected in the current valuation of the company. So from an economic standpoint, from the Wall Street market capitalization standpoint of this company, it didn't happen. They just happened to get access to more IPs and crippled the company over the course of getting it. But there are other aspects that could be the answer to your question as well, because I think you already knew that answer. You were just setting us up to say that.
Yeah.
Hit a home run. Yeah. Guys, let's talk about something we're going to cover in a different segment, but it may have a little bit to do with why they're rushing Bob out the door. Don't know, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Bob Iger being rushed out. Bash, go ahead real quick.
Well, you were setting this up perfectly, and I was just going to say this, is that the same day that it was leaked from the Wall Street Journal that Bob Iger might be taking, taking the quick road out of Burbank, on the same day, that's when the DOJ releases, well, a litany of files there connecting to a certain person over there in the Virgin Islands.
And then other people started investigating this based on the documents that have been released. And we're going to, folks, we got another video to talk about that. Hang tight. But here's what we're seeing. Disney Cruise Line, an official itinerary going to St. Thomas and St. John excursions. Jonas, what is St. John?
I believe is Little St. James.
Little St. James.
Yeah, it's a little on the document here from our perspective, but Little St. James is the island.
Right. So at the bottom here, you get to the bottom paragraph, and this is where it says, afterward, make your way to your second snorkel stop, Little St. James Island, where curious fish dart back and forth in the clear blue water. This seems to indicate that Disney had a professional relationship that goes beyond anything that I've known about. This is wild, and now Bob is getting pushed out. Jonas, your thoughts on this?
So, assuming that this island is not public land, assuming that the owner of the island would have had to have authorized an expedition from Disney Cruise Lines onto this land and set it up to where they go there frequently, yes, it would seem that whoever owns that island would have had direct dealings with the Walt Disney Company. This is not the only link to between Bob Iger and this person who owns this island.
I mean, look, even if there's no connection there, even if Bob Iger had nothing to do with this, it just looks bad that on the same day he's doing a quick exit from Burbank. A lot of these documents come out where he is named specifically in them. And so it's like, what are we supposed to take from that? What are we supposed to think from that? We still haven't had Bob Iger on the record responding to any of this. All we know is that he wants to, I mean, one of the excuses, for example, is, he just got delivered his new super yacht and he just wants to go ahead and take it out at sea. And it's like, okay, but this company is not yet ready to be handed off. It just sounds very convenient. And it kind of sounds like 2020, for example. You know what happened in 2020, right?
No, Vash, that's a fantastic point. Hold on a second. Let me get that pulled up. Oh my gosh, what a great point. Let me go to Max here, share. We got to pull this up. People got to know this. Okay. I have not connected this dot. Vash, what a great point. Look at this, folks. When the pandemic happened, the Disney stock crashed. Okay. It crashed. It went from the day or before the pandemic, it was at 144, which by the way is higher than it is today. And that's even with inflation. Like, step away from inflation for a minute. Disney was higher before the pandemic than it is today at 146.38. The pandemic, Disney crashed to $85.98 as the theme parks were being closed and all that. $85.98. It crashed. They ran Bob Iger out of there. Bob Iger was like, I don't want any part of this. Get Chipmunk in here. He'll be the fall guy.
Yep,
right.
We're looking at
I'll
these
add a little
out, and suddenly Bob Iger is like, get me out of here. Get me out. I'm done.
So I'll also point out that they had told Bob Chapek that there was going to be a process in which he was going to be interviewed by every single member of the 12-person board of directors. And then Bob Chapek said to all of them, it's Chapek, just hire him. Very sudden and no interview process. Go ahead.
In January and February, Bob Iger is getting reports back from Shanghai. Shanghai had already closed. Shanghai Disney, that is, had already closed by the time he's walking out the door. He knows this thing's going to pop off. He understands that, this is going to affect the business. And in February of that year, again, everything shuts down in March for the Walt Disney Company. Theatricals are basically shut off. Parks are shut off. All of that in February. He rolls out this split-second press conference with CNBC announcing that there's going to be a handoff to Bob Chapek, and effective immediately, he's out. This just feels a lot like that.
That's such a great point. It is such a great point that this is mirrored But this time the difference is, and this is what probably makes Bob Iger so frustrated and angry and his cohorts. The last time this happened, Bob Iger controlled the entirety of the board. He controlled the entirety of the company. And when Bob Chapek came in and said, I'm going to moderate this company, and by the way, the stock explodes, Chapek, in a good way, Chapek says, I'm going to get this company out of politics. We're going to be family friendly. Everybody's going to love us. They're going to love our content again. That's when Bob Iger and his very political wife step back in and say, this is my assessment, folks. They step back in and say, and we get the raised fist Mickey Glove organizations, walkouts and all that kind of stuff. This time, Iger doesn't have that. This time, Wall Street has stepped in and said, we're in charge of this transition. That's the difference here. Guys, final thoughts on Bob Iger and the rushing of him, flushing him out of the system.
I think it stinks to high heaven. I think something's going on here. Iger doesn't do anything without, a consideration of his reputation, legacy, image, and so forth. Optics-wise, this looks bad. And I just think they've, in this transitionary process with James Gorman coming in here and really setting those contracts permanently, I think they've really they've handcuffed Josh Giamaro coming into this field, and so one could make the argument that with the personnel that Bob Iger has put in place and has just enshrined in the form of these contracts, one could say, hey, if Josh Giamaro succeeds, well, it's because Bob Iger himself put those people in place. So just continued success. Versus if Josh Giamaro isn't successful, well, Josh was the guy. What I was long gone by this point right here. It's just it all works out for Bob conveniently again.
We're going to put the disclaimer button on this, folks. For a long time, people have said, you guys have got to uncover the corruption at Disney. There's this, there's that, there's this. And so many times we just can't go there. We're not saying that it's untrue. We're just saying that we can't go there because we can't prove it. And if we can't prove it, we can't say it. I'm not here to tell you that Bob Iger is being rushed out because of the DOJ document releases. I'm not here to tell you that Bob Iger had anything that he did that was inappropriate with Jeffrey the giraffe, not really a giraffe. What I am here to tell you is this could get really, really ugly. And I think it's in Disney's best interest that he fade out quickly. And maybe that's what Disney is thinking too. Okay? So I'm being very careful. We're not alleging anything. I'm just here to tell you, as Vash just said, the optics are awful. They could get worse, and Disney seems to be in a heck of a hurry to get Bob Iger right on out of there. As ever, folks, we endeavor to have a good time here on the Pro Channel, and I have to say that spending time with you, talking about things that truly matter, like the stories that shape our lives and our culture, well, it is the ride of a lifetime to steal from Bob Iger. And that's the only thing we'll steal from Bob because he has great security around his yacht. Folks, as we get ready to say goodbye, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. And folks, worry not, for more content is still on the way. 3 or 4 times a day, let's do 4. I think that's better. And you know what? Don't forget that the Pro Show is live Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern. You can also join us for our friends on That Park Place, our partner program. We have a good time there too. Folks, until the next time we get the opportunity to have a good time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun.